Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences and wisdom because, sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of people who've been there and done that. Today, I have an amazing guest with me. His name is Kevin Palmieri. And I want to give you guys a quick warning. Okay. This is kind of the quick warning sign that we are going to be talking about suicidal ideation. And so, while this is something that's hugely, hugely impactful for folks, I need to let you know that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. Kevin, welcome to Finding Better. Thank you for joining me.
John, thank you so much for having me. I am excited. You and I had a little chat behind the scenes. You and I are two peas in a pod, so I very much appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, this is going to be wonderful. Okay, so I want to let people know a little bit about your background. Okay. And folks, bear with me a little bit, but this is really, really important. So, Kevin in his 20s, he had everything. He had a beautiful girlfriend. He had a high paying job. He had his sports car. He had his dream body, right? So, he had everything going on, but he still ended up sitting on the edge of his bed thinking about committing suicide, right? And during that experience, he realized he wasn't living a life that he truly wanted to live. And he became passionate from that experience. And Kevin, we're going to talk about that experience,
Of course.
but became passionate about self improvement. And today, Kevin is a founder and co host of the Next Level University podcast. You want to check it out. Okay. And he has over 1 million listens across 170 countries. That's pretty cool. And his stated purpose in life is to impact as many people as possible by becoming a role model and helping folks take their lives to the next level. How cool is that? So, Kevin, all right. So, where shall we start? Shall we start from the bottom?
We can
Or I
start
should say
wherever.
from
Wh-
start. What, before we go there, what
sure.
drives you?
Oh, to be the best person I can be, to be the best man I can be, to have the most character I can have, and to be the type of person I needed when I was struggling the most.
And you know what? You have a lot of energy. And
I
you
do.
said that with quite a bit of conviction, right? I mean, as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, how can we get everybody? How can we get everybody in the world to that level? You know?
Yeah. The interesting thing, John, I get to live my dreams every day. I realize how privileged I am, how grateful I should be, and how much I need to earn it. And if I do not earn it, all of this goes away. And if all of this goes away, I would regret it. So I try to stay familiar with that. It's very easy to lose sight of that, but I get to live my dreams, and that's a privilege that not everybody has. And I want to make sure that I earn that privilege.
And it kind of goes both ways, right? You you're grateful because you earned it, but you have it because you earned it, and you got to earn it to have it.
100%.
And that is a muscle that so many people I find that so many people don't realize, right? That you gotta earn it.
Mm.
We live in such a world of entitlements these days. And people, I just see it all over, and we all see it all over the place. But and earning it and working hard is a muscle. It's a muscle. It's a muscle that you got to continue to work. And if you don't work that muscle, it starts to atrophy, right?
Yep, 100%.
Right. So, so when you were, I was going to say when you were growing up, when you were a young adult, right, in your 20s, tell us what happened, because you hear stories of people hitting rock bottom. And by the way, folks, you're not going to have to hit rock bottom in order to apply some of the things that we're going to talk about today. Hopefully you don't get to that point, and hopefully some of the things we're talking about will help prevent you from getting there. But Kevin, what happened?
So I was 25.
Uh-huh.
And as you alluded to, my girlfriend at the time was a model. I had a job that paid really well. I had a nice car, brand new apartment, getting ready to compete in a bodybuilding show. So I was quite literally in the best shape of my life. Great friends, all the stuff. But I was somebody who was becoming very depressed and very anxious without really knowing it.
Hmm.
Didn't realize it. I was not aware enough. That was my thing. My blind spot was my lack of awareness. I went on. I won my bodybuilding show. And about a week after that, my girlfriend sat me down at the kitchen table and she said, I'm leaving. You're
Mm.
not the man that I fell for, and I just don't believe that you're capable of supporting me and my goals and my aspirations. And she was right. She was correct. She was accurate in that. And this is where things really started to land for me of how serious it was. She said, I was going to leave you at the beginning of the month, but I was afraid if I did, you might kill yourself. And she wasn't saying
Whoa.
that to hurt me. It wasn't like a dig. It was very much like, hey, I'm worried about you.
And as she's saying those words are coming out of her mouth,
Mm.
are you thinking, what are you talking about? Or are you thinking, yeah, you might be right. I mean, when she says you might kill yourself,
Yeah.
what's going on in your head at that moment?
Several thoughts. One, there was a wave of happiness and relief that washed over me because I knew she was going to leave eventually, and I'm just glad it got over with at that point.
Mm,
That was
hmm.
one. And I knew that I was not in a bright place. I didn't realize how dark it was. That was two. And the third thing was I felt hopeless. It was like, my life is going to fall apart if you leave. If you leave, everything is going to get worse. And I don't even know if I can handle that. So probably
So
those three.
so wait a minute. So what, okay, you lost your girlfriend, but you still had a great job, you still had your car, you still had your health, you still had, you still had money. And yet, what is it
Well, I
looking
lost
back?
everything. I lost everything else kind of too. So when she
Oh,
left, my bills doubled because we were living together.
okay. Yep.
My job work got really slow. I worked in an industry called weatherization. So we would
Okay.
go into large buildings and make them more energy efficient, but we had very big convoluted contracts with different states and the government. There were times where I was traveling for a year at a time. There were other
Oh,
times where
geez.
I was off for a week or 2 weeks or a month at a time.
Uh-huh.
This was one of those times where I was off for a week, 2 weeks, or a month at a time, unfortunately. So that
Okay.
was a piece. I had developed an eating disorder because of my bodybuilding show.
Yep.
So I was not healthy as much as I maybe looked it.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
All of those things happened at the same time. And I remember my landlord came to my house one time and he said, look, I'm taking your ex girlfriend to court. Her name's on the lease. I'm not changing the rent. I'm taking her to court. And I said, do not take her to court. I do not want to make this ugly. I promise I'll find a way to figure this out. Promise.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all of those things at the same time that really made me feel like, one, I am really trapped. I am really stuck. I am in a lot of trouble.
Right.
Two, if I could just go make a lot of money somehow, let me see if I can do this, then all these problems should kind of fade away. So that became the mission. The next mission for me was I'm going to go make a boatload of money. So it wasn't like my girlfriend left and all these things went wrong. And then I ended up sitting on the edge of a bed contemplating suicide. All of that happened. That was my initial rock bottom. I covered up that rock bottom with the allure and the desire to make a lot of money.
Got it.
Then I went and did that, and then things somehow got worse from there.
They got worse.
Yes. Yeah, they
Okay.
got
So
worse. Yeah.
before we go into getting worse.
Yeah.
So you were at a very dark place,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And your the way you got out of that dark place at this point was focusing on making money because you thought in your head that if you made money, that would be the solution to all your problems.
Yep.
Was it?
It was the solution to it was the solution to my money problems.
Right, right. Exactly. There you go. There you
Right?
go. Right. At least your
But
short-term money problems.
my short-term money problems, but essentially no, it didn't fix anything else. I think it actually made it worse. So that the year that I said I'm going to do this, I'm going to make the most money I've ever made, I got a promotion at my job. Awesome.
Hmm.
I'm now a foreman running these jobs. Amazing. And we proceeded to have the busiest year the company had ever had. So I spent the next 10 months living on the road every single week in a different hotel, in a different state, in a different town. But I was making such good money, I didn't care. So it felt really good. It felt like progress.
Okay.
So we got to the end of that year. And I remember standing at my table. My ex girlfriend had taken the chairs They were her chairs. I never got new ones. I was never home. Don't
You're
need them.
stand. I've never heard anybody say that. I'm
That was it.
standing at the table.
Yeah,
Usually, it's sitting at the table.
there's no point in getting chairs. I'm never home. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to
Okay,
waste
got
the
it.
money.
Got it.
My goal was to make $100,000 at 26 with no college degree. If I could do that, I'd be successful.
You're golden. Yep.
That's it. I slide open my final pay stub. I made $100,000 at 26 with no college degree. And I had this really challenging realization that I essentially just lived the previous year completely unconsciously. I had no idea why I was doing what I was doing. Nothing was reverse engineered, really. I was just unconscious. The opposite.
You were just living every day. Like you're just going through it.
That's it.
It's just that rote hamster wheel that you're
Yep.
just going through. Yep.
Yeah,
Got it.
every day.
Mhm.
The opposite of unconscious, John, is hyperconscious. So I did what any young man would do. I started a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast. I want to be the opposite of the way I am. I'm going to start a podcast and that'll help me do it. So that was 2017. So here's where things got wonky. I realized almost overnight that I don't want to do this job anymore because it solved the problem that I thought it was going to solve, but it didn't solve the rest of the problems. Money's not the issue.
Right.
Interesting.
Very seldom is.
Very seldom. I
Mhm.
fell in love with podcasting. I want to have cool conversations with cool people. But as you know, in the beginning, there is not a line out the door of people saying, John, great idea. How much money do you need?
Yeah, right.
How much can we give you? It doesn't work that way,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
nope. Yep.
Right? So I fell in love with podcasting. And then it felt like I had to choose between two worlds because Monday through Friday, I was on the road. Saturday, I could maybe do an interview if I wanted, but it was so unfulfilling. And I think I finally felt like I had purpose and I finally had felt like I found something fulfilling. And I'm going to this job that I hate. So I start calling out of work. I start leaving the job site early. I start showing up late. I am just not in it and I don't care.
And you're doing all these things to give yourself more time to focus on your podcast.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. And it got to the point where I was traveling Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I would get home either Friday night or early Saturday morning, depending on where I was traveling from. Suitcase into the washer, washer into the dryer, dryer back into the suitcase. That was my life. And I just was homesick before I left, and I was way more depressed and I was way more anxious. So eventually, I was working in New Jersey. I lived in New Hampshire at the time, so I was 6 hours away from where I lived. Alarm clock went off at 5:15, sat up, slid to the edge of the bed. I'm lacing up my work boots as I have done 1,000 times before. The best way to explain it is there's 10 televisions on in my head at the same time, and every single one is on a different station. And one is saying, you're stuck here forever. You got lucky to get this job. You have no college degree. You have no business being as successful as you are. If you ever left, what would your friends say? You make more money than any of your friends. You're successful, quote unquote. What would your family say? I am by far the most successful person in my family ever. And then the loudest thing was, what are you going to do? You really think you're going to be a podcaster? That's what we're going to do? That doesn't seem very realistic. And it was in that moment where I thought to myself, well, if I was just to take my life, I would take all my problems with me and I wouldn't have to worry about it. And here I am 6 hours away from anybody who cares in a crusty hotel room, just with all these thoughts going on. And that was my rock bottom basement. It doesn't get much lower than that point of my life.
What's remarkable about your story, Kevin, is that, most people, when you hear people talking about hitting rock bottom, it's because of drugs or it's because of something really bad. But at that time in your life, bad things were not happening.
No.
Right. Or were they? I mean, but it just, I mean,
it's a great question. It was almost
right?
like I saw a potential of good with the podcast and I felt like I couldn't do it because of the job. So I villainized the job. That hurt me. And it felt like I was going to lose this dream that I hadn't even had the opportunity to chase yet.
Because you felt trapped.
Yes. Understatement. Yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and by the way, I have to say this, Kevin, folks.
Please.
since I started this Finding Better podcast, I've never had suicidal thoughts. So don't associate starting a podcast
Yes,
with really bad thoughts,
that's
okay?
safe. Yes, that's a good disclaimer. It's a good disclaimer.
And I'll tell you, I'm just going to skip a step and go back. But Kevin was talking about how he and I spoke a little bit before we started the show, and this podcast for me and Kevin's podcast have become the joy of our lifetimes. For me, it was a completely unexpected, wonderful experience because I just started my podcast, Kevin, with the idea that if I can help one person with one idea, that's a win. And my daughter asked me to do it. And now, and what I didn't expect, and for those of you who might be thinking about it, first of all, excuse my French, but in terms of getting started, this shit's hard, right? I mean, you don't have an audience of people that are screaming for you. I mean, you have to build it. But I'll tell you, the people that I've met, people like you, Kevin, it's just been wonderful. It's just been wonderful. And you've got an amazing message. My guests have an amazing message. And we just jam. And hopefully, we reach people that where something we say can resonate with them. And
100%.
what we've been talking so far, I think everybody to some certain extent can relate to it. My daughter, you were speaking about your bodybuilding and ending up with a eating disorder. My daughter also has a form of bulimia, and I'll tell you that is wicked, wicked.
Hmm.
And when you said when I first said, yeah, you were healthy, you were 25 years old, and then you said, well, I kind of wasn't healthy. I had an eating disorder. I'm like, oh my God, right? And it's just crazy. So you did have a lot going on. I mean, you had a lot going on, but on the outside,
Yeah.
everybody's like, hey man, rock on, you're doing great.
Yeah, and I think the hard part is my identity was I wasn't even supposed to be successful. I was the kid who grew up with no dad, broke, raised by my mom and my grandmother, didn't go to college, wasn't smart, felt abandoned, just never thought I was going to amount to anything. So it was almost the allure of I'm not even supposed to be here. I am here. Somehow I'm miserable.
Well,
What does all this mean?
that's the language in your head,
Yeah.
right? That's what you're telling yourself in your head, going, I'm an imposter. I had an episode, I don't know, a number of months ago with a guest of mine who talked about imposter syndrome. We all have it. We all have it. And it's all right here,
Yeah.
right? It's in these 6 to 8 inches between our ears.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that makes it tough too. So all right, so you're in this space, you see your dream, you see that you're trapped, you got to do, and you see the expectations that other people have laid on you in
Mm.
terms of how you should be living your life. What'd you do?
I called a friend. I called a friend.
It's always a good thing.
Yeah, well, I texted a friend. I texted my business partner. He wasn't my business partner at the time, but he is now. And I explained what I was thinking. I explained what I was feeling, and he said a lot of things because he's very long-winded, which I have since adopted, unfortunately. But he said, Kev, over the last couple of years, your awareness has changed a ton, but your environments have remained the same. I think it's time for you to change your environment. I was like, ooh, interesting.
Ooh, interesting.
What does this mean? Yeah. And that was I say something all the time. I think it gave me permission to make a different decision, and it gave me perspective that the box that I had created was not the only thing that I could do. And I ended up leaving my job 3 or 4 months later. It created an end date. It was like this job, if you've ever been in a relationship and you've convinced yourself that this person has to be the one, you are
Right.
willing to do unreasonable things to stay in that relationship, unhealthy things. I had convinced
You bet.
myself this was the job. He helped me realize it didn't have to be the job. So, yeah, I ended up leaving my job 3 or 4 months later and then trying to figure out what all of this meant and how to do this and get better at it. And it's weird. And I feel guilty at times because when I left my job, my depression went away. That was the last time. Do I still get sad sometimes? Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Sure.
But not, I
Yeah.
wouldn't consider it. I don't think I've had a depressive episode since I worked that job over the last 8 years.
Oh my God. I got okay, I got it. I just got to unwind some of the things
Please,
that you just
please,
said.
please.
Okay. One of the things I tell people, and I seem to say this just about in every single podcast episode we do, is that your life is a product of the choices and decisions that you've made up until this point. And people say, "Well, I couldn't pick my parents." Well, okay. So tell me that this is wrong. That your life in the future is going to be the product of the decision and choices that you made starting from now on.
Mhm.
And everybody, of course, says yes. What you just talked about with your basically what you said was your job was your identity,
Mhm.
right? And it was the identity that everybody placed on you. It happens to all of us. The first thing people ask you, the minute you shake hands, you say, "Hi, I'm John Suzuki." Okay, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? And very seldom did I say, "Well, I've got two amazing kids. I've been married for 40 years, and I've got three amazing grandkids in San Diego, and life is wonderful." I say, "I'm retired." Or I say, it's that identity, right? We're just so screwed up with that.
Yeah.
And the last thing, and I'm going to shut up. You talk about being long-winded. Okay, so the last thing I'll say is that, you know what, folks, I'll tell you something. If you can find yourself in a place, if you examine the work thing, because Kevin, what you just said is that the day you left the work was the day your life absolutely changed. The burden was lifted off your shoulders, and you went on to a new life. And there's so many folks out there who feel trapped.
Yeah.
And I did too. I did too when I left my job with IBM. Um, I had a huge mortgage. I had two small kids at the time, and I'm like, I can't. And the most liberating moment in my life, most liberating moment in my life was when I realized and I sat back and I said, "You know what? You're here because you're choosing to be here."
Yeah.
And I went, "Holy cow." So you went through that. Now all of a sudden you're free of that. You're liberated.
Eh, it got worse. It got worse for a while.
And then it got worse. So let's talk about that.
So I just want to add something. I think
Yeah.
maybe I'm a unique case in this. I don't know. There was very little external pressure. It was mostly internal pressure. So let me give you a real quick flow chart of my jobs. First job I had was pumping gas at a gas station.
Okay.
Got fired because I told them I wanted to be a personal trainer, so they fired me. Wasn't nice. Then I proceeded to work at a hospital cleaning bathrooms and floors on the night shift. Then I became a personal trainer. I quit that job because I didn't want to do sales. I paid $1,000 to get out of my contract. Truck driver,
Wow.
forklift operator, tiling, renovating houses, fire academy. Then I was broke as hell. I went to a job fair where I learned weatherization. And at the end of the job fair, they said, "We're going to connect you with the most successful company here. And they pay anywhere from $50 to $120 an hour." And I said, "That is not real. That is no way. There's no freaking chance this is real." I was so down on my luck. I was broke. I was convinced I was never going to be successful. I go and meet my potential boss. He says, "Kev, you got a great personality. We're going to bump you to the front of the line. Welcome to the company. We don't start for a couple months. We'll let you know." All right. I still don't think this is real. The second time I met my boss, I got into his Subaru Outback in Boston, Massachusetts. We drove 12 hours to Wilmington, Delaware. I moved into a house with five strangers I had never met, woke up the next day to do a job I had never actually done. We got to the end of the week and I opened my first pay stub for $2,000. And I said, "Holy shit, this is real." From that day forward, I was convinced if I can just stay at this job and figure out how to make it work, I'll be successful. So it was so much me. It wasn't other people. It was me. I didn't think I could ever be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to lose that. So I don't want to, again, maybe whether you're watching or listening, you resonate with that. There was very little external expectations because there was very little expectations on me. So a lot of it was on my own. Okay. When I left my job, my depression essentially went away. My anxiety multiplied and became exponential to the point where I couldn't get out of bed for weeks at a time. Didn't know what it was. Didn't I thought was having asthma attacks. I thought I was having allergies. I had no idea because I had never had a panic attack before.
Hmm.
In retrospect, I went way too far, way too fast outside of my comfort zone, and I just kept pushing and I kept suffering. And it was like, it doesn't matter what it takes. We're traveling on credit cards. I can't afford to pay back. I'm afraid of traveling. I have so many triggers around travel because of my old job. So it got worse for a while because I was so far outside of my comfort zone for so long that my body just started shutting down pretty much. And I just kept going. I remember
Wow.
we were in Florida meeting one of our mentors at the time. And I remember I had a panic attack in the hotel on the bathroom floor. And I literally was like, I think I'm going to die. I think this is it. I didn't have health insurance. I thought I was having an asthma attack. I couldn't go to the hospital even if I wanted to. So it got better in
Whoa.
so many ways, but it got worse in other ways too. And it was the first year, the first 2 years were just brutal, terrible, terrible, terrible. So
Well, so this is the first year or two after you left your job.
yeah, 2018, I left my job. So 2018 and 2019 were just terrible. They were just
So
terrible.
what did you do for money?
I had saved $10,000 from my
Okay,
job and I had access to like $30,000 of credit because I
got
had
it.
really, really good credit before. So I essentially put everything on credit cards for the first like
Whoa.
year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just lived on
yeah.
credit cards pretty much. Yeah.
That's a tough way to live.
It's not in the moment, it's great. But when they come
Right,
asking for the
right.
money,
But
that's
it's a
when it
tough way
sucks.
to live.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
tough way. People go, "Oh yeah, just stick it on a credit card." Okay, that's a tough way to live.
Yeah.
And it's from the standpoint of building financial wealth, it is the worst way to live. And so all right. So here you are. You have all this credit card debt, maybe 20, $30,000 in credit card debt.
Yep.
You're wondering what the heck is going on in your life. You got the internal pressures happening. Then what?
Then I went to my business partner and I said, dude, I got to start making money because I'm out. I'm out. I had fronted a lot of our business expenses on credit cards because I had access to it. And he's like, all right, I think what you should start doing is coaching for free. And I said, I love you, man, but I don't know if you misheard what I said. I have to start making money, money,
Yeah. Read my lips.
money, money. And again, I'm blessed because my business partner is at this point, he's like a brother and he's been just the best mentor anybody could ask for.
That's awesome.
He knows so much. I don't know how he knows it, but he's special. He's just a special human. And he said, "Well, you've never coached in this way. You need to build up belief and you need to build up a little bit of a reputation. So, I think you should coach for free." All right. Our podcast is about self-improvement. I'm going to coach on self-improvement. So I reached out to 5 people who I knew listened to the podcast, who we were really big on connecting with our community. I mean, we still are. We're still huge in that. Hey, John, I've never done this before, but I'm interested in doing some coaching. Since I've never done it before, I'm willing to coach you for free for 2 months, 8 weeks, no strings attached. What do you think? All 5 people said yes. It's like, whoa, interesting. We're on to something here.
Hmm.
So that was hope. I coached them all for free for 8 weeks, and at the end, I said, I'd love to continue doing this. What do you think of $50 a call? And everybody said yes. So I went from relatively broke and despondent to slightly less broke and slightly less despondent, and I was making $250 a week, and that was the beginning of how this whole thing started, and that became more clients, and then your price goes to $75 and $100 as you can start to add more value. So that was a
Hmm.
really important inflection point for me because I didn't start the podcast to make money. That's not why I started this. It became a necessity if I wanted to survive. And yeah, coaching was
Wow.
the dipping the toe into that. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And so that's a tough way. I mean, you've obviously been successful, but to start a podcast with the I in the position where you have to make money and you're using a podcast
Yep.
to eventually make a lot of money. I started my podcast as a hobby, right? I can't imagine being in a place where I had to make money with this.
Well, it's like a startup.
No,
Uh,
in a lot of ways, it's a lot harder than a startup.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you
And
know,
I'll never forget my business partner. We were broke as hell at this point, and him and I were sitting on the front porch, and he said, "I have one of my." So he is very well connected to a degree,
hmm
but also just insanely independent. He essentially had a mentor ask him, "If I gave you $1 million to put into your business, what could you turn it into?" And he wouldn't even take the meeting. I'm not interested. Not interested in the money. Like we're gonna do it our way. So at the time, it was like, dude, what? What do you mean? It's essentially it is a startup that never took outside money. We've
very
never had
cool.
it. Yeah, and also very terrible at the same time. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
cool now. At the time, it was like, oh, this even gonna work? What are we doing here? So yeah.
yeah. Wow. All right. So tell us a little bit about your journey in starting up and how long how did you get to that point that said, okay, this is a level of success that I can see continuing, from a momentum standpoint to grow. Um, and how was it? I mean, how long did it take you to get to that point?
Oh man, I mean, that probably wasn't until like 3 years ago, probably. If I'm
So
being
that
honest.
yeah. So that took 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, from 2017, probably 2022 probably is when I started to feel like, oh, this is not that it couldn't be something, but like we're really starting to build momentum.
5 years.
Yeah. Yep.
You kept at it for 5 years
Yep. Yep.
because of the belief that you had.
That and my business partner has the most insane self-belief. I mean, there's nothing impossible to him. He can do anything in his mind. So that's been if honestly, if I was doing it by myself, I would have quit. I would have quit. I couldn't have made it by myself.
So therein lies another amazing message.
Mm,
You don't have to do things on your own,
mm-mm.
right? You're not alone. And if you're alone, you don't have to be, right? And if you're thinking about doing something alone, you don't have to, right? Again, it's part of those choices, but a big part of making choices is knowing what your choices are. And I remember talking to a very, very successful young man, and he says, one of the greatest lessons that I learned because he came from a broken family and he had every reason to, you know, not make it. And he had every reason to blame others for his lack of success. And now he's a senior executive at one of the top technology companies in the world. And he said, one of the biggest lessons I learned in my life is I'm not alone.
Mm.
I don't have to be alone. And everything's going to be okay. And I just went, wow. And his name is Christian. I said, Christian. So somebody had to tell you that? He says, yeah, someone had to tell me that.
Mm.
And because as you had just mentioned a little bit ago, Kevin, it was like he was given permission.
Yeah.
It was like he was given permission. So wow. So you guys kept at it. You guys kept up your belief. And now today you have over a million listens in 170 countries, right?
Yep. Yep.
So what was, as you're going through this, you know, it takes some perseverance and it takes quite a bit of belief to keep going for 5 years,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And at the same time, these are 5 years starting in a pretty dark place,
Yep.
right? And so ideally, when you're in a dark place, you want to have a big win, right? I mean, just pop you right out of it. And yet this thing, I don't know what your trajectory was, but it wasn't straight up like a
No.
rocket ship,
No, no, no,
right?
no, no.
So what was that experience like?
It was it's so multifaceted because I was the least successful I had ever been, but I was also the most fulfilled. And there was something I was broke as hell. Nobody cared. I was no level of successful, but I remember thinking I'm so proud of what we're doing and I'm so proud of who I'm becoming. And I've never done anything for something greater than myself. And this isn't about me. It's not, yeah, I talk on the podcast. Yeah, I'm the host and blah, blah, but it's not, it's about the audience. It's about the listeners. It's about the community. It's about all
Right.
that. And
Right.
I had never felt that before. So that part was awesome. But I'll never forget one of the hardest moments, essentially, of my life. In 2019, I couldn't buy my now wife Christmas presents, and it was just the worst. I'm grinding my face off, and I'm working every day, and I'm suffering, and it's like I can't. I don't have any money. She paid rent. She paid for groceries. It's just like the most soul sucking experience. It is just terrible. It is just absolutely terrible. This is a
Welcome,
funny
welcome,
story.
welcome, welcome to entrepreneurialism.
Welcome to, yes, yes.
Yep.
This is a funny story now. In 2019, we hosted an event and we lost a ton of money on the event. But we took everybody out for dinner because that's what we thought we should do. The volunteers, the team, the speakers, like everybody that was there, let's take them out to dinner. My business partner and I were in the bathroom. He went to the bathroom and I was like, I need to talk to him in private, so I got to go in there. I said, brother, the credit card is not going to clear. I don't think the credit card, I don't even know how we're going to pay for this freaking, and this is going to be hundreds of dollars. I don't know if we're even going to be able to do this. And we were just laughing. It's like, oh my God, this is terrible. That is the level that it was at. It was brutal. I mean, it was brutal. And that's why it seems really cool now and all that, but
No.
this journey, if I'm being as honest as I can be, this journey has done damage to me and it has taken pieces of me that I will never get back. Now, if I could go back and do it over, I'd still do it. But
Hmm.
this is not fluffy, feel good. Yeah, we did it. No, no. This has been the hardest thing I've ever done, bar none, nothing close. I wouldn't recommend this to my worst enemy. It has been that challenging, for sure.
Holy cow! And yet,
Yes.
through it all, um, and I'm going to paraphrase something that you said. The thing that drove you was your realization that it's not about you.
Mm. Yeah.
Is that one of the things that drove you?
That's a big, yeah,
Because
it's a big
huge, right?
piece. Yeah.
Huge. Because one of the things I talk to folks a lot is, what's your why? What's your purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? Because a
Mm.
lot of people don't think about it that way, right?
Yeah.
Well, I need to make money. Okay, why? Why? And I spoke to somebody some time ago who said, "All right, I know that whole thing, especially with kids, of why, right? Um, that we all do it at some point in time, but sincerely ask yourself that question, why, 7 times,
Yep.
7 times, and around that time, you'll start getting to your purpose and what's going on. And I have found, that this whole podcasting is not for me. It is not for me. I believe, Kevin, that we all share a common purpose, and that is to make the world better than the day we landed on it.
Yeah.
And I've chosen, and so have you, to make the world better by lifting others. And you lift one person, you do lift the world.
Mm.
And so I love that. I love that. And you kept
Appreciate
at
it.
it. And that's what kept you going.
That was a massive piece. And again, I don't know if we were on air when we said this or not. I'm so privileged to be able to live my dream. When I started this, I was so afraid somebody was going to be able to take it away. I could cry thinking about it. I was so afraid I wasn't going to be able to do this anymore. It's like, oh, I'm going to have to go to get a job. Up one day I'll say, yeah, I used to be a podcaster, but I couldn't cut it. It's like I'm so privileged to have this opportunity, and I'm so privileged. Even when I left my job, I didn't have any kids. My car was paid off. Like I was in a really good position. I didn't have a family to take care of. So, God, I have a chance at this. And if you pair that with the fact that I am willing to suffer very much, I won't say more than anybody else because there's a lot of people out there willing to suffer, but like I'm willing to grind, I'm willing to suffer, I'm willing to sacrifice, I'm willing to work. I'm just so grateful that we get to do this. Some days are terrible. They still are. I'm overwhelmed, but I much rather have the overwhelm of abundance to the overwhelm of scarcity and feeling terrible about myself. That's a good problem to have. So it is. It's not about me. It's about the community. It's about impacting the world, being the type of person I needed. And now I mean, this is my dream. It's my dream at one point was to have conversations like this and people care enough to want to talk to me. You can't lose sight of that. You can't, no matter how hard it gets, you can't lose sight of that because you had hard before. It just wasn't hard in the direction you wanted it to be in.
Wow. How old are you?
35.
You're such a young guy that's got so much wisdom.
I appreciate that.
That's really wonderful. Two words, folks, that Kevin just mentioned, privilege and gratitude. I mean, there are few more powerful words than those. Maybe forgiveness is right up there,
Mm,
right? But I mean, Kevin, you're amazing
I
because
appreciate it.
your mindset is that our you and I talking to the folks that we're talking to, it is a privilege. It is a privilege, and I thank my lucky stars, and I thank God every day, right? And so it's really it's very cool. It's very cool where you are,
I appreciate it.
and you're loving life right now.
It's challenging. Right now is
What life isn't challenging?
100%. But
Name me a life that isn't challenging.
I think a lot of people, that's like where it ends. It's like, and now he hosts a global top 100. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
and my life is probably the most difficult it's ever been in a constructive way, and I'm the most fulfilled I've ever been, and. So I don't ever want to suggest that eventually you get to the end of the game board and you win and that's it. I think the sustaining of success might actually be harder than achieving it in the first place.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
That's the
There's no
season
doubt
we're
about
in
it.
right now for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and good, very good point.
I
Very good
appreciate it.
point. You going through the startup mode has its challenges. Once you start stabilizing, it creates a whole different set of challenges, and then trying to figure out how you continue and how you continue to grow and reinvent yourself is a whole nother set of challenges. But shit happens, life goes on. It's not fair. Move on, right? Suck it up. Let's go. And
Yep.
and folks, you're not alone, right? You're not everybody. I say I tell some folks, Kevin, that you walk down Broadway in New York City, you walk down through any airport, you walk through any place that's got lots and lots of people. Every person you look at has got something going on in their life that's worse than yours. Everybody,
Mm.
right? And there is, folks, you guys got to rewind this episode because there is so much depth to what Kevin talked about in terms of his experience. And one of you're not alone. You're not alone. Help is out there. People are
Mhm.
out there who want to help you. I mean, Jesus, johnsuzuki@gmail.com. Email me if I can help you, right? Um, but yeah, it's congratulations,
Thank you.
dude.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
So I don't even know how to close this. I don't know. I do. I do want to ask you a couple more questions.
Please, please.
So how do you, how does one out there, a theme of one of the things that you talked about was self-worth and self-confidence.
Mm.
And let's start with that. Um, are there any golden nuggets you can share with folks that they can do to start building their self-worth?
Yeah, self-worth is probably start by either saying no more or yes more, depending on what side of the pendulum you're on. One of the things we've seen a ton is self-worth gets absolutely destroyed when you set boundaries and then don't maintain them. That's like one of the things that happens so often to people is they set a boundary and then it gets close to the boundary and then they abandon their self-worth to maintain the relationship that they have with the person that's crossing the boundary. That's a huge piece of it. The thing I think that probably helped me the most, and this is going to sound fortune cookie esque, investing in myself, not necessarily monetarily. You don't paint a car that has four flat tires. And if you feel like you're a car that has four flat tires, you're not going to put a fresh coat of paint on it. I think that's what investing in yourself is. It's all right, let me blow up this one tire. I didn't realize that about myself. Interesting. That's cool. Or next time what you do, you buy a new book, you listen to a new book. Next time you're out to dinner, somebody says something and you actually feel like you can add value to the conversation. Interesting. You're definitely going to feel like you have more self-worth if you can add more to a conversation. So
You
that's
bet.
a couple simple ways. Self-belief is a little bit different where most people are taught that you should set massive world denting goals. And if your goals do not scare you, they're not big enough. I think that's bullshit. I think it's terrible advice.
Yeah.
Usually, the people who say that are the people who have undying self belief, which is like 0.1% of humans. I think you should set a goal that you actually think you can accomplish. And then when you accomplish or get close to accomplishing, you can set a bigger goal based on that belief. That is a massive thing. So, three steps: state, prove, self assign. State, I am going to take blank action. Prove, take blank action. Self assign, and this is a big one: give yourself credit for doing the thing that you were scared to do but did anyway. Do that, and then it's just an upward cycle. For me at the beginning, it was, I'm going to do something that scares me today. Did it, gave myself credit for it. Now I do a lot of things that scare me. And or
Really scare you.
a lot of things that used to scare me don't anymore.
There you
This
go.
is this is where I find flow. This is where I feel like I'm supposed to be. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not afraid to say anything. I'm not afraid to mess up. This is where I'm supposed to be. But I've done this 3,400 times. Said I was going to do it, did it, and then said, that went better than expected. Interesting.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
That.
And folks, you don't have to set that first goal of saying I'm going to swim across the Pacific Ocean.
No.
I mean, set something small like I'm going to walk around the block, or I'm going to make instant top ramen tonight. I mean, start small.
Mhm. Yes.
And start building that muscle, right? Kevin talks about being a world-class bodybuilder, right? That didn't happen overnight,
I wouldn't say I
you
was
know?
world class.
Well, you were a
I
champion.
appreciate it. Yeah, but I mean, there's levels, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
would say
yeah.
I was like town class. I'll take that.
Town class, town champion class. Okay, good. Well, still, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Me, never come close. So to me, that's a gigantic accomplishment.
I appreciate
But
it.
but with that, right? I mean, I love that. I love that. And build the muscle. Build the muscle,
Yep.
right? And that's what it takes. I mean, make a decision and stick with it. And big part of life is, I'm aging myself now, but the old word was stick to itiveness,
Mm.
right? All the young people are going, "What? What the hell was that?" But anyway, therein lies a big part of what makes success happen.
For sure.
But with that, Kevin, do you have any closing comments that you'd like to impart with my audience?
You already said it. The biggest difference between who you are today and who you aspire to become is what you do. It's your habits, it's your mindset, it's your circle, it's what you say yes to, it's what you say no to. We as humans are far more malleable than we ever give credit to. And I do not want you to leave here thinking I am something special. I work my face off for sure, and I'm very consistent and I'm very disciplined. But this version of Kevin and 8 year, they wouldn't recognize each other. And your own unique version of that is possible too. Don't compare to my journey. Don't compare to John's journey. Compare to yours. That is what I would leave people with.
That's amazing. It's all in you guys. It's all in you. Happiness is not out there. Happiness is right where you are, right? It's right here, and it's right here. And building the kinds of muscles that Kevin and I have been talking about for the last hour. And again, please, please, please share this, rewind, listen to it again, because there are so many amazing nuggets based on Kevin's experience that you guys can take from this and share it with other people. Kevin, if people want to get more information, people want to learn more about you, where do they go?
The podcast is called Next Level University. It's on all the platforms. It's on YouTube. We do an episode every day, so it'll always be there. And then the website is Next Level Universe. com. And then just to piggyback on what John said, my email is kevin@nextleveluniverse.com. My inbox is always open and I do my own emails. So anything I can do to add value, let me know.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Listen, folks, thank you for joining us. Kevin, I love you.
I
God
love you
bless
back.
you.
I love you back.
Yeah. And all of you out there, we love you. God bless you. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. And again, please share this. We'll see you next time. Bye.